The web. All right, we'll go online.
Set?
Go.
Go.
Set. All right, thank you, Peter. Good morning, everyone. This is the Glens Agency. I hope our last meeting for the 2025 year. We have a quorum here. Dr. John may be coming in, and we're going to go ahead and get started anyways without him, as we do have a quorum. And Mary Gooden may be online, but she is not going to be able to join us today. She's out of town. So, thank you very much. Rest of our members are here, and we also are joined by staff and our advisors. Thank you all for joining us. I'm going to just go right into the administrative reports, and I'm going to start with Jeff.
Okay, good morning, everybody. A couple of things you'll see, they're a little bit out of sequence. We have a request from Venatio for the Glens Ventures, which is, of course, the rebuilding project to extend their sales tax exemption through the end of June. The project is going to run well before that, but it certainly makes sense to sort of escort to a logical conclusion. We're hoping before spring, before March. There are actually some of the residential facilities and spaces are going to be, they're already being rented now. So they've asked for an extension for that just through June 30th, but again, I think it's going to go well before that. Sort of out of sequence, and I know we're going to talk about this when we get to the LDC, is that we met, the mayor and Pat and I met with some representatives from the Hyde and the Armory, Jerry, the owner of the Armory, along with John Lochner, the director at the Hyde. Somebody else was in the meeting with us, whose name he was with us as well. They're looking to try and get some, probably repurpose that. As you all know, this is the Armory is one of the core properties in the midst of the soon to be commenced BOA, actually has commenced, the Brownfield Opportunity Area going down Warren Street. As sort of a supplemental part of that process, we're starting to sort of target specific locations. These preliminary study, like these are things that may sort of shake out in different ways as we go through the study, but the Armory in particular is an interesting property, and they were looking at some sort of repurposing funds. To that end, the idea was that they were going to look through the SBS, LDC's SBS program to try and get some funding to help underwrite that. My thought was, if that were to happen, if they were to be able to get some funding through the SBS, the IDA could also sort of provide some support as a partial support for the project that they're doing, for the plan that they're doing. I don't know how we can reverse the process to try and get some sort of approval for that in anticipation of an SBS application approval that the LDC would have to do. But it's something I just wanted to sort of bring out. I don't know that it could be done at the next meeting if we get to that point, but I just want to sort of make you all aware of what they're looking at. I think there's a real interest in trying to sort of coordinate something with the high next door, right, as the next door neighbor.
Well, there's a whole group of arts organizations that are operating under their act right now, also are beginning to develop kind of a separate identity that is going to work with the city as part of their ongoing plans to kind of develop the arts district as part of changes coming up in the new year. And so leading that, of course, is Later Act in the High. And the goal of this obviously is to provide help for the feasibility study, which is coming up as a resolution in the LDC meeting. So I'm not sure what sequence you'd like either.
Well, we don't have an official request from them, and I don't know exactly how we would assist, and so I think it'd be a good thing to have them come in and present and make an official request to us. They probably have to have an understanding of the product that we have, bonds, sales tax exemptions, those types of things.
Well, yeah, at this point, I think I was just thinking that the IDA could participate in the cost of the study. Whatever the study. We're talking about a small amount of money, not anything major. So.
Well, if they made an official request, I think that it'd be something it's a little unusual. It's not something we've done before. I think they'd have to make an official request to us and maybe come in and do a presentation, explain to us how they'd be using the funds.
Yeah.
One other thing that I got, a post-agenda submission to the board, I received proposals for the audits for next year. Rather than going into the details here, I'll send these out for everybody. It doesn't have to be done. We don't have to decide anything at this meeting anyway. They seem consistent at first glance with what we've had for the last couple of years. And these are from Gene Lapper through, of course, her firm and Flux Sealy guys are on that. I don't know if we had how the process worked. I'm trying to remember how the process worked. We were trying to find anyone who could do the audits for us. But anyway, I'll
yeah, so I emailed the ADO and they said that for all intents and purposes, if we've had, the LDC's had her now for a year and Urban Renewal's had her for 2 years, without having to go out to bid. So next year, next summer, it'll have to go out to bid.
After the next audit.
Correct. Yeah, once the audit.
Well, anyway, I'll send a copy of this out to everybody. We can talk about this.
And so as part of my report, that's basically I wanted to share, just talk about the same, which is we are at year end. Our end, not just the calendar year, but it's also our fiscal year. And so we do need to start to prepare for all of the ABO requirements under the Public Authority Accountability Act. And we've got 3 months to do that. So we really need to be done by March 31st, including our audit. We do need to kick off that audit, I think, early in January. If we can go back and take a close look at what we did last year in terms of how we engaged Gene, I do have some recollection of that, but let's look at the documents. And let's take this up in first thing in January so that those audit procedures can begin. There will be documents, things that we'll need to sign as board members, confirmation and some of our reports that we need to do. And so then the annual meeting would be in March. We'll keep it right now at the date that we're projected at, which is our regular date, but that will depend, of course, on whether or not Gene's on the time. But March 31st is our absolute end date to get all of those things done. And same for the mayor, for the LDCs.
Correct.
So,
And urban renewal and the CDC.
yes, and so come January, I think that all four organizations will need to have board meetings so that we can approve these procedures for each and every
And
one.
you got both, right? Because I got
Yeah.
both as well.
Approve the procedure or approve the
The audit.
current audit,
Who's
the
gonna-
engagement of the audit.
Engagement of the audit and initiation of the start of it.
Us.
Yep. Okay.
Right, we're given at the LDC meeting, this is, because I got them at the same time as Jeff.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Understood.
And I know there's a transition going on at City Hall, and so I don't know how we can make sure that all of those individuals have this information as well, but Mayor, if you need that,
Yeah.
I'd be glad to help.
Yeah, if they ask, I'll certainly refer them to you. I assume that the next meeting, it'll just be the new mayor will be here instead of me. And I think at that point, she'll have to catch up, and she hasn't asked. But I'm glad that I've set aside time to meet with her at any time.
Okay.
All right, so right now, that they really haven't asked about any of the four authorities. I just don't think they've gotten to it yet,
Okay.
so. But I will do that, and if they're interested, I'll call you. I'd love to set up a meeting again and do that.
Okay.
With them as well.
Okay,
All right?
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot with your end, and getting ready through the PAAA stuff is extensive, so.
Yeah, I think you just should move forward and let the mayor join the conversation as soon as she can.
Okay.
That's my 10 cents worth.
And as part of that discussion, and on behalf of all of us here, both the board members and the staff, we just want to thank you for all that you've done as mayor and on these boards with us. It's been a pleasure working with you, and we're going to miss you. So thank you for all that you've done, Mayor, and we recognize this could be your last meeting, we weren't certain, but now that you've told us that, we do want to offer our thanks to you and hope you again going forward.
Thank you. Thanks for saying it. It's great to watch all the progress and see it all develop out, and thank you.
Thanks. Okay. That is it for my report, and I think Jeff's report. Any questions from any of the members or guests? Okay, there being none, I'm gonna move right on to the minutes. The minutes from the meeting that we held on November 13th. Everyone had a chance to review those. Are there any questions or comments? There being none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? There being none, the motion is passed, the minutes are approved, and Suzanne will get those posted. Thank you. We have the financial report attached with our documents for 11 months of the year ending November 30, 2025. Mark Tooney's here with us today. Mark, do you want to say a few words on this?
Income-wise, we got a check from Crew Coffee for $810. Expense-wise, the monthly internet for the farm, $109.99. Legal bills for $1,601. A miscellaneous adjustment from 2024 for $150, and payroll 40% of November hours, $306. And as far as the audit, last year Gene charged us $1,500, this year it's $1,700. Lutz charged $5,000, and this year it's $5,250 for IDA.
Proposed.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
This year would be the proposed.
That's
Right.
proposed, yes. And that's the document that Jeff has to share with us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, any questions or comments on the financial report? Okay, there being none, is there a motion to accept the financial report as presented? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any nays or abstentions? There being none, motion is carried. The financial report should be posted. Thank you very much. Payment of bills, we have Schedule A here, and we have 3 bills for a total of $25.99. Any questions on the bills?
It's, Kara was on vacation, I guess that's why
Oh, okay.
she hasn't submitted her bill yet.
Oh, you didn't?
I thought it was
Always looking out,
I
Kara.
thought it was a Christmas gift.
Right.
Although I believe she was doing some work.
On the Schedule A, towards the bottom, it says total IDA, $11,839.
Yeah, that's kind
That was
of.
my mistake, I didn't erase it from the prior one.
Okay, so that's a mistake, very good.
Scratch that.
So scratch that, its total IDA checking is $2,020. Is there a motion to approve the payment of bills?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? There being none, the motion is passed. Thank you. Get those bills paid, we'll sign. Any other reports before we go into project reports? Nothing, Jeff? Very good.
No, I have some other business, but I'll get to that, we'll get to that.
Okay, so, under project reports, Jeff already started and he talked about 41 South Street. This is, the Bonaccio or Spring City project. This is the phase 1 of the Bonaccio project, and it includes the 3 buildings, that are existing, that are being rehabilitated, including 2 buildings that the LDC sold to Bonaccio. And so, we knew that they may be done by the end of this year, and I think we set the sales tax and mortgage tax exemptions in accordance with that, and we know they're not completely done. They did give us a tour. I think a lot of people here did get to go through. I was able to go through. I do see the lights on, and they are interviewing people, I think residents, tenants, et cetera. So there does seem to be a fair amount going on there.
No, and their 45 South building is, the tenant is up and running, if you haven't been down, that's just the dog, downtown dog.
There's stuff in there and all the lights.
Yes.
Lights,
Oh, yeah,
yes.
my dog.
See the lights.
Which we supported through the idea, through the LDC.
Correct.
Here we see. Yeah. Okay. So, so basically, we would extend through June 30, the sales tax exemption. They don't need a mortgage tax exemption extension.
No, their
There.
financing is done.
Is done, okay. Any questions on this? Would we have to sign some documents for them on this? We'll have to.
Just one, but it's, you can sign it electronically.
Okay, very good. All right. Is this okay with everybody? Any questions, comments, concerns? All right.
Do you need a motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the extension of the sales tax to
June 30th?
June 30th? What's the correct name? It's Glens Falls
Glens Falls
Ventures?
Glens Falls Ventures.
Glens Falls Ventures is the correct name. And is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? There being none, motion is approved. We talked a little bit about the armory already. Anything more?
No, if you just want to table that for now, that's fine.
We'll table that until they can submit an official
Yeah.
request. Okay. And then,
It's exciting, really, because if the IDA, the LDC, if urban renewal, if now with that East End Rising, with that all coming together, what a great thing to now connect Warren Street to our downtown. It's been forever Warren Street, the Hyde's down there, and then, even more forgotten, East Fields, right? And to bring that neighborhood back and extend it like we've been able to achieve on South Street is a
Now,
great thing.
I wasn't able to go to that meeting there, but I think the city engaged, is it Labella or a firm, and they're helping to advise them on that planning
That's
process,
correct.
right?
That would be the second.
So Lavelle is doing,
Lavelle?
the East End Rising is managing it for the city.
The
East End Rising.
Okay,
And EDR is actually working with the Rec Commission to do a planning process for Eastfield. So the goal of that would be at the end of the year to have a set of reports and a kind of a schematic that at the end of the year would be able to go out for public discussion, and then coming up in the new year, be able to apply for CFA grants, rec grants, that kind of thing, to be able to rebuild that.
Okay, and that's also related to what you're doing on the east end, it's all part of.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And remember, that's, was the vision that Ed had shared, right? To do the brownfield assessment area on south, heading out to 18, those are the corridors that were imagined in that, that original document that preceded the DRI. And then Eastfield was another, and we knew it being the old industrial neighborhood, that it's still zoned that way. And so what a perfect fit there to combine art and events around that beautiful building. And
I think also the two projects that we recently funded here are in that neighborhood, both on Maple and the former Post Star building, and so to have those things going on as well, I think will support that neighborhood.
pieces of the puzzle, and we're already seeing increased interest throughout it, and it's, I mean, I don't think it could look any better now. It seems like progress begets progress, and what a great opportunity, because just like my favorite example is that corner of South Street and Elm Street, the rain that was coming through the roof 30 years ago. And now look how beautiful it looks, and how often have we driven down the Maple Street building where I had my shop, right? It was empty for more years in the last 20, since Dick Leland. It really hasn't had a solid tenant, right? And they've been up in another part of East End for 25 years, right? So these buildings that have been left dormant because of the way that community was working are now being revitalized. You're right, that, I mean, the Post-Star building, right? You remember as a kid getting the tours of the Post-Star newspaper, printing of the Post-Star, was every kid in Glens Falls got the tour, and that building too was being reimagined and
Yeah,
redeveloped.
they're putting an apartment in my old office, so that's
Is it?
kind of weird, but
It's
there you are.
Yeah.
No, the discussion kind of follows from everything that happened on South Street and everything that happened, as we were talking about in South and Broad, right? That we began to have conversations a year ago about the East Side and about Eastfield and about, all those things to move that process forward. I mean, we love to be able to talk about the great successes, but the successes are not, it's more like 21 months.
For our January meeting, if we could get updates from Maple and Post Star, that'd be helpful, just to get an idea of where they are.
Well, yeah, it's interesting, and that's actually sort of a segue into the last thing that I wanted to mention. The city is going to be having next week sort of I guess we'll call it sort of a closing declaration of the progress that this administration has made, particularly with respect to South Street. In organizing this event down at the Ed, you may have all received something about it. We've gotten all of the, and I think a lot of this is to try and highlight. We've talked a lot about the DRI, right? The DRI is very close to being closed, but there's a lot of other projects that are going on that we want to make sure that we're not sort of losing sight of, especially to the extent that this body has been involved in them. So as part of this event, we've gotten the 3 developers in the immediate proximity to sponsor the event for next week. That would be Venaccio and Chris Patton and Ryan Connor over at EBR Properties. To the extent that these are all recipients of the IDA of benefits, I was thinking that it might be appropriate for the IDA to be a sponsor of this as well. We do have some funding in the budget for meetings and events, so I just wanted to check and see if the board would be comfortable with. I'm not talking about a large amount of money, but I think we should really take the opportunity at this event to talk about, because as you all know, we were sort of sitting on essentially one project that we had to get through with Venaccio's project on South Street. Having gotten through that, and the city's sort of impetus in moving the market center Ed forward and the other projects, right? Suddenly you have not just that project, not just Patton's project, not just Ryan Connor's project, the 178 Maple project, right? The Post Star project, the Crew Coffee project. All these are sort of happening because of the things that the IDA has been able to sort of move forward. They're all different circumstances, they all have different, I don't know if any pilot, because it depends on what their needs are and how they can make their project work. We talked about the short-term financing problem we had at the 178 Maple. We talked about, projects that have or don't have tax credits, or looking to do, full renovations, or brownfield problems, or, I don't say brownfield, but the issues at Tech Meadows. So, I think this would be a good opportunity for us.
I haven't heard of it yet.
Oh, my
Yeah,
goodness,
me either.
we sent you, I
Yeah.
thought we sent you, and I apologize, an invitation.
You have it.
So 1 week from today.
Right,
Apparently one of those was for Jane.
right.
You must have already filled
You
your
got
email.
two?
Yeah.
All right, well,
So we're all set.
so there's a reception, it's 5 to 7 p.m., it's 1 week from today, on the 18th, at the Ed,
At what time?
at 5
5
p.m.
5
5 p.m., 5 to 7.
At any rate,
The
that's
goal of
right.
the goal of it really is to celebrate the partnerships that have kind of developed over the last 4 years, and to celebrate with the partners, and also to acknowledge the staff who have done incredible work in the last 4 years.
So why don't you, if the board members are in agreement, then why don't you send me the information?
Sure.
And so we'll have a document,
Sure.
asking us to be a supporter, and I'll sign it, sponsor.
Yeah.
And I'll sign it tonight or whatever, if everyone's okay with it, but we'll get something in the file. Okay.
Good.
Is that all right?
My resolution.
So,
I move that we join with our other partners in sponsoring this celebratory event on the 18th.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstention? There would be none, the motion is carried, and I'll sign it today when we get it. Any other business? That's it?
Very good.
Okay, so our next meeting is scheduled for January 8th.
That's right, second.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
The first is a Thursday, so.
Okay, wow, all right. So, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned, thank you. Mayor, turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. It is still December 11th, and we're ready to open up the Greater Glens Falls Local Development Corporation meeting. We have a quorum. I want to thank everyone for attending. I believe we have some administrative reports. I believe you have the minutes in your packet. Are there any questions or changes that anybody would like to make to the minutes of November 13th, 2025? Not hearing any. Would someone like to make a motion to accept the minutes?
So move.
Do a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries, thank you. On financial reports, we have a financial report for 11 months ending November 30th. Mark, would you like to review?
Yep, we got a check from Crew again for admin for $2,500. Gain on sale on the Crew property at Tech Meadows, $41,508 was income. A legal bill for $608. Traveler's insurance bill for $118, and payroll $459, 60% of mine, November hours. That's it.
Any questions for Mark? Any questions about the report? If not, we have a motion to approve.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Payment of bills, Schedule A, back at you, Mark.
My November hours, and then I hold 990 filing that I did 2023 and 2024 together back in May. So I forgot to include that expense for $200, so that's $650 and 50 cents. And the fourth quarter CEO wage for $1,625, totaling $2,275 and 50 cents.
So you may not remember that we asked Mark to begin developing the 990s because his fee was much less than any of the other places we were going, so, yes.
So $2,275.50. Any questions about Schedule A? Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, thank you.
So the only other report is given on the audit conversation that we've gotten for the LDC and urban renewal from from Gene. We'll send those out. They came in, I think, yesterday afternoon. We'll send them out. Mark, do you have the prices right off the top of your head?
Yeah, LDC, Gene didn't change from last year to this year, $1,800, and Lutz went up from $5,250 from $5,000 last year. Urban Renewal, Gene was $1,200 last year, this year $1,250, and Lutz $3,900 up to $4,100. And back on CDC, Gene $1,400 up to $1,600, and Lutz $3,900 up to $4,100. So not too bad.
So we'll, along with the others, we'll send those out for you to review and then put it on the January agenda. Right.
Any questions? Under projects and reports, crew coffee, any update yet?
Not trying.
Still brewing?
That's good.
They've got a lot of,
They started?
yeah, they've
Yeah.
got a lot of work done already. 2 weeks ago, a week ago, I think I drove by. So yes, they're in process.
Ground is broken?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Broken?
No,
It's flat.
Well,
Yeah.
Ground is flat.
Sorry, that's right, because they're going slab.
Yeah,
Going down in
exactly,
there.
yeah, right.
Ooh.
Just think.
What was that? Yeah, whatever, right, yes, right.
All right, so, crew coffee's underway, and then we've already spoke about Jerry Nudie and the Armory, nothing there yet, but we're hoping that they, give us a proposal.
So they gave us an SBS application.
Oh, they did?
And, right, and which was also fairly late, I think, last week. And so there's a resolution asking that we support the applicant to do their proposal for a feasibility study to take a quick look at what the could become in partnership with the Hyde, I believe the Hyde letter went into the package, right? And so the request is to pass this resolution that allows us to support the feasibility study by up to half through the SBS program.
And who are they hiring to do the
He's
feasibility?
in the process of looking for that right now. He hasn't determined exactly who it is.
Do we have numbers?
It's
We don't have a number
up to
yet.
half of the project, and it's up to 50,000, which is what our limit is in the SBS program.
I'm not thinking. It
No,
doesn't sound
we're
like
thinking
gonna
it's
cost
gonna be
anywhere
like
close to that. We're probably
10 to
talking something
15.
10 to 15.
50,000 for the feasibility study?
Yeah, up to 50,000.
No, so the numbers, the 15 and the 50, or the 50 and the 50% come from the grant program, is to cover half, up to $50,000. So he's asked us to, he's fulfill the grant's terms. So if he spends 20, then the grant would cover 10,000, he is aware of that. So the number 50 is not about.
Because
Just the max.
because 50 could be in the Bronx, okay? Here, it might be 15, you know, that kind of thing.
Understood, it also just feels like a lot.
It is.
It is, but it's about,
It's
it's
for
part
half,
of the program.
half of the
I know
sustainability.
it's not this gate, if something went like 70,000, we would still only pay.
That's
25.
correct.
Up to 50, right, correct. The half, the payment for half is up to the 50,000 level. Whatever they might spend over that
Yeah.
is not our responsibility.
So if we approve, let's assume that we approve this, let's do it dependent upon them getting a price so that we know what it is
Sure.
prior
Before-
to any payment. Is
Sure.
made.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's like any
Yeah.
other SBS loan where we would get the receipts. I mean, certainly, we're gonna follow the process to make sure that we know what the cost is, which I can, again, put on the agenda to report next month.
So
But
we won't approve payment right now. We'll
no,
just-
no, yeah, no.
We're just authorizing
Correct, yeah, authorizing the
our
project to go forward.
participation.
is what
Up
we do.
Our
Yep.
participation.
Which is basically up to whatever cost is
Correct.
going to be.
Are they required to give a minimum amount of bids?
That's a great question. I don't know, Kara, you know?
Would he need to go out to bid for that?
They don't,
No.
this would be a professional service, so they wouldn't necessarily have to.
Right.
If they were doing a purchase, I think they have you guys require them to get at least 2 bids or
Yeah.
something like that. They wouldn't
There
have
certainly
to.
is enough interest, I'm
We should
sure.
request that anyway.
You could require them to get one-in-one proposal for the study.
Kara, I think because it's ARPA funding, you want to at least establish a basis of reasonable cost. So
Yeah,
one
couple
consultant charging $100,000 versus,
Right.
so I think you should require them to have some sense of procurement.
What the market actually bears.
So could we have a motion to approve their application to work with them on the small business support program? And to at least provide us with two bids, two different organizations, to draft it, that we review it before we move forward?
Yeah, and I think we need to modify the resolution that's here. I don't think we're approving them to go forward with their activities and the work. We're approving them to go forward to identify a professional firm to serve them.
Okay.
So
And to cover half of the cost when it's.
Right, that's two separate things, right?
Yes.
So procedurally, they would have to go out to bid
Yeah.
and obtain a service provider. And then, but what they're actually asking us to do is commit to supporting them up to half of the cost of the study.
Correct.
Two separate things altogether.
Yes.
But I think that our minutes obviously reflect that we expect that they will demonstrate to us the reasonableness of the budget that they present to us.
So, yes. And so the minutes will reflect that, but the document that you've submitted needs to be not included then because it doesn't state the same.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
So
With those stipulations?
So moved.
There's a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, thank you. And so last on our agenda is 36 Inc. Update. I wanted to take this opportunity as it's my last meeting to give everybody an update on 36 Inc. And pass out some documents for you so that we're all in the same spot. The last of the mechanical, the last construction piece of the 36 Inc. Is the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and we're expecting that to be the work to be done. It was put out to bid. We didn't get any bidders. We think it was too small of a project for many companies. But we put it back out again, and that's due back in, I think, next week. And then we'll be able to go, if nobody again bids, then we'll go to direct, what do they call it? Solicitation. But the whole project itself, my goal is to have this all stay, and Bonaccio Construction, who won the bid on the fit out of the building in general, that all fits within their goals as well. So I'm hoping for a St. Patrick's Day groundbreaking of it. So as we started talking about the last time, I believe we mentioned to you that we had a great meeting. We went, Jeff and Pat and I and Jim Thatcher went to Binghamton, and because we'd been talking to Taste New York about this 36 Inc. building, and Taste New York is extremely excited to work with the city of Glens Falls to find an operator of the three components, and they suggested that we speak to Cornell. They have multiple operators of Taste New York facilities throughout New York, usually at rest areas or wherever they have them. They do have them in like New York City, down in Grand Central Station. There's a Taste New York, a small Taste New York store, and so they're all over. But their favorite or their most prominent operator is Cornell Cooperative Extension, that operates 11 Taste New Yorks. So we went to Binghamton and met with the key people of those 11, and they asked the executive director of Warren County to Cornell Cooperative Extension to come to the meeting as well. And everybody left excited. Everybody has seen the plans for our building and think this is a fantastic opportunity. We got to see that the folks in Binghamton are actually building another commercial kitchen because their commercial kitchen is so busy and utilized so much. They shared success stories with us of one producer, of a meat producer, who was selling about $15,000 a year in meats, who worked with Taste New York and Cornell Cooperative Extension, and he's now selling over $150,000 worth of these same products now through the efforts and the exposure that they've gotten with Taste New York. We came back to Glens Falls, and Warren County Cornell Cooperative Extension has said to us they will help us with programming. It's right up their alley of ag and markets, but they were not feeling comfortable of hiring the staff to do an operator. They're in they've attrited in size in the last couple of years. They've got a brand new executive director, and although they love what we're thinking about, they're not ready to commit to being the operator of the Taste New York for us. And so they do want to help us with the programming, they do want to help us with the education that's involved in our commercial kitchen and both in the efforts in our market. They're very excited about it and will work with us. So I want to ask Jim Siplon to come up and sit with us because we've been working with Jim and the Warren County LDC, and Jim is the EDC, but also the LDC in their Adirondack. The name of the program, the Startup ADK, right? And so in doing that, the three committees have been meeting, and we had three subcommittees for the three portions of this project, right? You've got a commercial kitchen. It's actually two kitchens. It's a commercial kitchen that can be rented out by people looking to grow their businesses. It's also a kitchen, a teaching kitchen that'll be in front, that'll be mobile and movable throughout the area to help people that want to highlight the dishes maybe from the farmer's market or from businesses that are growing in Glens Falls that are already established. And then there's the market itself. Between the teaching kitchen and the market area is 3,000 square feet, one of the largest Taste New Yorks in the state. And then finally the wayfinding and marketing, the wayfinding system that we know from the day one that we wanted to make sure that this market advertised and promoted the local businesses in Glens Falls. And I want to draw your attention to page 4. I'm sorry, I'm missing some stuff. I had, I forgot it. It was, Jeff had made me a copy of the original application. And in the application, you want to...
Well, yeah, just briefly,
on the spot.
the point of all this is to highlight that, despite the enormous, relatively speaking, the enormous sort of variation we got from the original proposal that was put out in 2017 that the state, that we requested and that the state responded to, and what we were going to be doing in the DRI, right? You might remember the original building was going to be this 20,000, potentially 20,000 square foot building where the old farmers market pavilion was, right? We've gone through a lot of iterations to get to where we are. One of the things we needed to do during this entire process is to make sure that we're adhering to the requirements of the DRI when we originally created this, which was to create a year-round facility for the farmers market and other potential vendors to use downtown, and to include a commercial kitchen and a retail space as part of that, right? As we post-COVID really, as I came in to work for Mayor Hall at the time, and we started looking at scaling down the size of this project to make it work. We then looked at not only the smaller, what is now the ed, but we also looked at this 36-ounce space as sort of a complementary piece of this same project. So,
So there was a paragraph in that original thing that talks exactly about these elements, and I'm so sorry, I mean, I can see it on my desk, all highlighted for me to read you, that paragraph. But it's also here on page 4 in front of you, why this concept. Efforts to save and repurpose the incubator building go back 30 years. During that time, the building was used for cold storage or was vacant, paying little to no property taxes, crumbling from roofing, missing windows, fuel tanks and other environmental hazards dissuaded. I think, Jane, you were the one who pointed out in LDC saying, this is the most undevelopable, most blighted building in downtown Glens Falls. We were so frightened as the interest rates climbed, as construction costs climbed, and Bonaccio said, I don't think we can do phase 1 if we don't get the HCR tax credits for phase 2. I know they're not, Bonaccio had separated those out for us only 4 years earlier, right? And so he's saying he doesn't think so. And Jane was the one who said, let's remember what this building was and what an anchor it was and why we bought it. And it literally says it here too. The fuel oil tanks and the environmental hazard dissuaded anyone from buying the former factory and undertaking significant renovations. And just as one of our several deteriorated priorities around South Street, South and Elm, there was virtually no private interest in rehabilitating or demolishing even the 36 Elm to make way for new development. And in the early 2000s, the city stepped in with federal and state brownfields grant to remediate the environmental hazards and stabilize the structure, while the Glens Falls Local Development Corporation took ownership to stave off demolition and by neglect and lay the groundwork for the eventual South Street downtown revitalization. And that's where that paragraph comes that Ed and they wrote a decade ago. And so I'm so excited to be here to be talking about this, and because now we're looking in March, this building will be done. It will be renovated. You have the full updated packet of where our concept plan is, where we were, and where we are today. But where we are right now is we have Taste New York very excited to partner with us on this facility. And now we need to find an operator. And we had been for over a couple of years. Jim has been part of one of those subcommittees, and it goes along with his startup ADK project. And that's why I asked him, after Jim's done, I do want to talk about the market, the wayfinding and the market sales and operator for that. So I'll turn that over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. By the way, I will also miss you. I appreciate your work to not only carry on what you were handed, but to create a lot of surface area for economic development in the area. It's uniformly seen as one of the bright spots in the state of New York. And on behalf of the entire EDC, I want to thank you for what you did. There's a couple of things that are really important to preface this, and I'm saying this not only to you, but to the public that watches your meetings. We sometimes are so knee-deep in this that we forget that people get confused about how all this works. And that confusion is not malicious. It's just because they're not as close to it as we are. But there is not the ability for us to reimagine this project anytime we want. And I think we have to keep reminding people, as you just did, Mayor, about the fact that this took years of preparation by Ed. I remember the studies that led to the eventual DRI. I was on the board of the EDC at the time. I actually was one of the people that Ed tried to attract to the incubator building when I built Just. And I was offered it for $1. And instead, I spent millions of dollars to renovate a church, which will tell you just how steep the perception curve was, because we were willing to do anything. And we still could not see a way to it. And when I recognized that, I said, once we were underway, we have to figure out on the other side how to be supportive. That's actually the genesis of how I became a board member of the EDC many years ago, was how can I return the favor and figure out how to do the things that even I was scared of. That DRI application, I was on the original committee. Mary Gooden, I don't know if she's online or not, she was also on that. I mean, we go all the way back to the public comment period that lasted nearly 2 years, and everyone had an idea about what to do. And everything was vetted, and quite honestly, I didn't love all of the ideas that were presented. No one did. That's the way this process works. But once you go into the process of defining the projects that you're going to put to the state, and then the state comes back and approves them, that's pretty much locked down. And you not only run the risk of perturbation in terms of getting paid, you run the risk of not being able to be reimbursed for it if you deviate strongly from it. Now, no one wants that, but we have to keep reminding people that just because they weren't there around the table 10 years ago, everyone in the community had 2 years. Public charrettes. There were lots of yellow stickies involved. There were lots of meetings at the library. There were lots of people with opinions. This is not a lack of public support or input. But it is easy to forget that it took that long to materialize. Now, all that said, this is a spectacular success by any metric. And the mayor went through that, so I'm not going to double down on it. But I do think it's really important to understand how long it took for that to coalesce. There are organizations and people who sometimes question the necessariness of organizations like this one. Like the city's IDA, the city's LDC, IDA, the county's LDC. Why do we have two? Why is it that we have two IDAs? Why are there all these various organizations with revolving loans? If we had not had the confederation of organizations that we have today, this would not happen. The county would not have taken this up. Only the cities would have done this. Now, the county's coming in, and I represent the county side on this, not only as your economic ally and advisor, but as theirs. And they're able to now assist, but they would not have done it without your leadership, your taking ownership of the properties and figuring out the disposition, you doing the hard work. We need to remind our public that this would not have happened if there was not a unique city LDC, if there was not a unique city IDA. And I will do everything I can to make sure that my public knows that too. The second thing I want to make sure everyone understands is we're here to help no matter whether we're in the primary chair or one next to it. Our job is to go look for the sustainable long-term outcome for this community. And Glens Falls is the heartbeat of it. And there will never be anything that goes on here that we will not have an interest in supporting. No matter what our contract is, no matter who's mayor, no matter what happens, the EDC is here to ensure that this place has a viable future. And so whatever it is that this organization or the city at large needs, we are there to step in. Now in this particular case, I came to them and said, please extend the entrepreneurial system that's based with Startup 80K. That's where people go to develop a business plan, and eventually it leads to small businesses that might seek assistance from either you or some other entity for maybe a revolving loan or some kind of startup funding, some kind of economic incentive. It's been going on for more than almost 20 years at SUNY Adirondack. But there's a need for us to do things in addition. That not everything is just somebody wants to develop a business plan. Sometimes there's a business plan that needs somebody to go run it. And so a concept called the reverse marketplace. And we have that we vetted out of more than 20 that were originally raised, where my office then crystallized a business plan that I would consider to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 or 80% of a framework for a community need that we are fully aware of, but we don't know if there's anyone that's ready to operate it, and no one has ever initiated that kind of project. Your indoor farm, the city's indoor farm, is one of those. I was involved in that effort way back with Jeff. I think we'd like to try to find somebody to operate that in the long term. That's an example of one of these projects. There's a number of projects in the greater county, mostly surrounding Lake George and some of the needs that are associated with protecting water and the things that are going on around the lake. But the one that's most relevant to this conversation is the American. How should we operate this center? Which is a very legitimate question, because no one should have known that at the time that we were developing the plan. If we'd known it, we would have changed it for sure. Any business plan that we would have developed in 2016 would not be relevant in a post-COVID world. So anybody who comes and says this should have been done then is just not living in the world that we live in. We have to wait until we know what the facility is. We have to know that it is in the present tense, not the future tense, in order to attract anyone to it. Once we knew that was the case, and once we had a clear understanding of what that floor plan and those components were, I had 3 people work on this last summer, and we had multiple meetings with the mayor and with the city staff to try to draft a plan for you. Here's a business plan that you could either use as the basis of an RFP, you could glean things for a traditional RFP, or you could take this business plan and you could say, we're going to do this slightly differently. Here's the business plan, and I actually offered the LDC support with startup capital so that anyone, regardless of whether or not they were in that field, would not have working capital as an obstacle to whether or not they could say yes to doing this. This is designed not to impede competition, but to create the maximum amount of potential applicants or ideas as to how to operate it. And I think sometimes there's confusion about this too. And it's understandable. If you operate a facility in the city, you can say, wait a minute, why are we spending public money to have somebody come in and do something when I didn't have that? Well, that's because this thing doesn't exist. There is no such thing as a commercial kitchen together with a storefront, together with the need to support events in a city-owned facility next to it. That doesn't exist as a private entity. No one would ever create it as a private entity. So now what we have to do is figure out how do we bring the private sector to it. We have about a 25-page plan that we've provided multiple drafts to the city staff and to the mayor, and that's important that everyone understand that exists. Whether we proceed with that or whether we proceed with a different procurement direction is your call. And if you decided to go out and just seek someone to operate this with a pure RFP, we would support you on that. We developed this other thing as an alternative. Now,
And that's why we weren't talking about it, because when we talked to Taste New York, they were saying, well, there are people that are in this market, and it's Cornell Cooperative Extension, and they tend to be the experts at it. And so that's why we did that. And although I did know that Jim and his staff were developing this reverse market plan for this building with these guidelines. Remember, the guidelines are that the object of this market is to promote local business, not to compete with them, to grow other businesses, to help not just run a commercial kitchen, but run a commercial kitchen at rates that encourage a young business like my cousins with the pies to utilize this so that she build out her business capacity to see if she can grow and scale to then get her own commercial kitchen, right? And so that's the object of it, and that's in Jim's document too, that it would be run in those particular ways. And when Cornell came back and said, we'd love to work with you on this, but we're not ready to be the operator because of where we are right now as a county Cornell Cooperative Extension, that's why Jim's here today.
We'll probably have to modify that now based on that decision, which we're quite happy to do. But I think what I wanted to do is make sure that everyone here was aware that there are multiple options and we're at a position where you can take multiple paths. And we will support whatever direction you take, not only today in this meeting, but going forward. The one thing that is important to understand is I want to make sure that anybody who comes and talks to us, and we've had a number of interested parties come and say, how is this going to work and how would I engage in it, either as somebody who would utilize the facility or someone who would operate the facility. And what I tell them is, you will see clarity in the next 60 to 90 days about what the direction that the city's taking, and whatever that is, we will make sure that you're aligned with that you'll get that information. Now, the wayfinding system or the marketing side also has other alternatives too, which we allude to in some of the documents we've given, but Jeff and I are working on separately. The cellular overlay grant that we're working on right now with the city and the town of Lake George is designed to create a network on top of our existing cell net that when events occur or when there's demand where people can't complete calls, there would essentially be a Wi-Fi network that you could connect to that would allow you to complete those calls. And in order to opt into that network, you would have to, in some way, identify yourself. That becomes a potential avenue for this marketing plan here. That didn't even exist at the time that we started writing this. And this is another example of how we have to be opportunistic as time goes by to figure out tools that we didn't even imagine that we had. But imagine right now that whoever it is that's running that side of the marketing around this market had the ability to take anybody who was already downtown and market directly to them because they've opted into a network. And that would be essentially the way that somebody would be paying for that, is they're essentially saying, okay, I'll accept the fact that somebody's gonna tell me that there's cheese curds for sale right now over here. And I don't know whether or not we'll choose to do it, but I know that's new surface area that didn't even exist 90 days ago for us to explore. The mayor has the most recent version of that plan. I think we need to update it based on the most recent things that have occurred to you and your most recent conversations with Cornell Cooperative and others. And we stand by, not only my office, but the Warren County LDC in supporting anybody who needs startup capital to be able to get this going. We want to partner with this effort. We're not in some way thinking that there's a boundary issue here, because our efforts to try to do this reverse marketplace are for the entire area that the Warren County LDC supports, which includes the city. So if somebody in the city is trying to do something that's aligned with an objective we already have, we're not saying you got to figure out how to fund it, not us. It fits in the profile. So I think the most important thing I want you to understand is, even in a transition of leadership at the city, these ideas will continue to come across that boundary. I worked with your predecessor, with Dan Hall, on some of these ideas way back when, and then work with you to figure them in your administration. We will do the same as we go through whatever transition is coming in front of us. But you as an LDC are the entity that we're working with directly here. And I think probably the right answer for us is to give you a formal presentation of that in the new year. Once we update that plan based on the most recent conversations you've had, is to come and walk you through all of this about what your options are. You could go a traditional RFP path and essentially just say we want to turn over them. We think we have targeted organizations to do this, or you could open it up to something a little broader. I think both choices are there, and they're well researched and thought out. We will assist you in whatever way you ask. One last thing I want to mention here, because you guys talked a little bit about the arts. When I leave this meeting, we're having a meeting with all the arts organizations in the region, and they go beyond Glens Falls, they go even beyond Warren County. Washington County Arts Organization, Essex County Arts Organizations. One of the reasons we're doing that is not only are you guys looking for, in the city, looking to do feasibility studies and understand more of the opportunities that sit with the arts organizations in your core, that's going on in the entire region. And we're shepherding that. And the Washington County IDA is a part of that. The Warren County LDC is part of that. The EDC is part of that. We've got more than 26 of those arts organizations now meeting bi-weekly, essentially to say, what are our common needs? How do we help them through a transition where there is less federal funding for the arts, where state funding for the arts may be changing? And how do we ensure that they have community support? What are their needs? What are common amongst those needs? What things could we develop innovative solutions for? We'll be talking more about that both with your arts entities as well as with the city. So, Mayor, I think we probably don't have the time to go through the 30 pages that I've gone through, but I think we should set that up for you choose.
Yeah, well, I think that I'd like to ask you to come back to the January meeting, which is date? 8th, January 8th. And before that, before the end of the year, if you can now take the information that we've got, we'll update it in the board. And so the LDC members got the most updated concept plan. You've also got the scope of services that we do and worked on with Cornell Cooperative Extension. And then you will also have Jim's report on how to use Startup 80K in the reverse marketplace to now engage with a suggestion on how we can engage with operators for this. There's one more piece before I go any further, and that is that Pat and Jeff and I met with Mark Bean and Ryan Moore from the Bean community. And I said to them, the one piece that didn't fit with Cornell Cooperative Extension and doesn't necessarily fit in this is an operator for the wayfinding and the marketing. I believe that the marketing that is part of the software that is capable with think of if you walk in right now into our exit 18 roadway, you'll see I Love New York, and you'll see the videos promoting tourism sites in New York. We're thinking that too. I've got calls into New York State to see how we can get I Love New York involved with this and the wayfinding that's there. It's amazing. So we were in Binghamton at the on Route 88